Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. I stuffed up in doing the polls because the Oscars is not tomorrow, it's the week after, but here we are here talking about Oscar-winning scores anyway, because why not? And not to mention, there wasn't really a lot this week that I could have done other topics on, so this is where we are. But anyway, got a great panel here. Over here we got Kiri. Kiri, how's it going?
Going great, thanks. How are you?
Good. We've also got Chad here. Chad, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. I'm not normally like a big scores listener, but this episode has kind of turned me into one. I've really enjoyed listening to all the scores that I've heard so far for the show, and I'm very excited to talk about it. It's a great panel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I'm not a big scores person, but I was like going through this. This is like, there's a few that's like, I know the score anyway because I've liked those movies a lot anyway. But there's a few that I actually listened to for this. That's like, I don't remember. But yeah. But also we got Steven. Steven, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. I listen to some scores, but not a lot that seems to win best score. But but there are some that I knew without having to listen to. So for sure.
But yeah, I mean, at least most of them are probably on the thumbnail. But that being said, how the show works, we're going to go around to the horn and each nominate a score we think belongs on the top 12 list. And then at the end we rank them. But as I like to always start off, last week we did Pixar characters, and this is what the list was according to the poll. Once it comes up. So I mean, it kind of mostly sort of fell in line with what we had. Like Woody and Buzz were the top two there as well.
You have to.
I mean, it's so sad to see Dory that low, but I don't know, for some reason.
Annoying, but
I didn't see.
Yeah,
Carl.
Carl was 8.
Hey,
Oh.
But so how the show works is because we've only got 4 people on today, the person nominating is going to come down to the other 3 people, just because otherwise we could end up with a tie, and that's not easy to do. But Kerry, what is the first score you're going to bring up?
Okay, I'm gonna bring up The Lion King first. The score by Hans Zimmer. I think this is a classic part of all of our childhoods, everyone's childhood, unless I don't know. It's I don't know. I just think this is a fantastic score. It's so beautiful, and I think you hear any piece of it and you instantly recognize it for what it is.
Chad, what do you say about The Lion King?
Yeah, I mean the movie obviously is fantastic. Carrie said the best part of our childhoods, and you just like, you know, earlier I was like, you know, you're gonna nominate The Lion King, and then I was like, let's listen to it, and she was like, I don't need to. It's in my soul. I was like, okay, calm down. But yeah, Lion King scored by Hans Zimmer. It's the only one he ever won until probably this year, and you know, I think there's a reason why. Like, you know, the big point that I love in the score is when it gets to that big part, you know, when Simba is basically saying bye to his dad in the sky, and it's just like really, really emotional. And every time I get to that, I'm like, okay, this is one of the best. So yes, Lion King.
Stephen, what do you say about The Lion King?
Yeah, well, you know, music is obviously one of that movie's one of the things that made that movie. So I'll say yes.
So if that Lion King is going to make this list, I was actually going to say no to it because as much as I do like the Lion King, I remember these songs written by Elton John and that more than I actually remember the score. But it doesn't matter. The Lion King is going to make this list. And Chad, we go on to you for the next nomination.
Absolutely. Well, since Carrie went with her shirt's sake, I'm going to go with my shirt's sake and go a little bit older to The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, it's another musical, but I don't think you can, even though a lot of the songs on the soundtrack are some of the best. I mean, yeah. But basically with the score, like you have with this, you have the overture, you have, everything else with it that actually complements all of the songs too. And I just think it's just one of the best ever. Yeah, I just want to get like a really great old classic film on here. At least one. I don't know how many other ones are going to come up. Maybe a lot, maybe not. But yeah, this was a Harold Arlen apparently. Want to shout out that name, and I love this film. I love the score, and yeah, Wizard of Oz.
Stephen, what do you say about the Wizard of Oz?
This is an interesting one because I have a hard time separating, in this case, the score from, soundtrack. Because when you usually think of the movie, you think of the songs, like not just obviously Over the Rainbow, but also we're off to see the wizard and Follow the Yellow Brick Road, and those are great songs. I'm gonna say yes, because obviously there's another movie where music is obviously a huge part of that movie, and yeah.
Just remember when she's riding on the bike and get the
yeah, I mean, this was actually in a weird year when they had a hell of a lot of schools nominated as well. So,
I saw that like in the late 30s and early 40s. There were almost 20 movies nominated.
Maybe they just couldn't decide back then. But anyway, when it comes to the Wizard of Oz, this is another one where, well, yes, this one does have like more memorable sort of motifs, like within the score, like the diddle-doo-doo that Chad did. But this is another one that I am going to sadly say no. I love The Wizard of Oz, but unfortunately, the songs. This is another. I mean, this could be the case with a lot of the musicals that may come up. That the songs are probably that more memorable than the actual score. But yeah. But with that, Kerry, it's all on you. Does Wizard of Oz make this list?
I say yes for sure. I don't know. I guess this is just I have a soft spot for scores I heard a lot during my childhood. This is another one of those. Just another piece that when I do hear the score, I do think it's instantly recognizable as belonging to the Wizard of Oz. It immediately reminds me of the movie. I do think it elevates the movie itself.
But with that, we're going to move over to Stephen. What is your first nomination?
I will go with another animated movie, actually. I will go with, as far as his movies goes, because if we counted television, then the answer would be different. But as far as his movies goes, I think Michael Giacchino's best score is Up. And I just, I love the music to that movie. And yeah, that would be my first. That's my first pick.
But yeah, we've got Up. Yeah, the Up it's one of those scores I do like it, but I'm gonna be the downer of this episode, but I'm gonna say no because I think with Giacchino specifically, I think he's had better scores in the Pixar series of movies anyway. I don't think any of them have other ones have won, so I don't know if there's going to be any other representative that could come up. But yeah, unfortunately, I am saying no to this. But Kerry, what do you say about the score to Up?
Oh my gosh. So it's hard because I know we're going very quickly. I keep saying yes to stuff. This is one I had definitely on my list that I wanted to include here. It's like one that I find myself like singing like just out of nowhere all the time, and I'm like, sometimes I'll forget where it's from, but I'll sing it and I'll be like, wow, that's such a beautiful score, and then I'll remember it's from Up, and then it makes me cry a little bit. But I don't know. I think this is so beautiful. The music is so iconic. So I say yes.
Chad, it's all on you. What do you say about the score to Up?
Michael Giacchino, so hot right now. Up, it's one of those things like people talk about Up, right? And they talk about the first 10 minutes. What do you get in the first 10 minutes? You get an amazing montage with some of the best music you've ever heard by Michael Giacchino in this movie. It continues the rest of the film, even though I don't think the rest of the film is as good as the first 10 minutes. I'm one of those people, right? However, when you get it, you get like a lot of the really fun moments with the score, and then you get the really soft moments. And what do you do in that 10 minutes? You cry, and it's because of the content, but it's also because of the score, and it really complements that film so well. So yes, Up for sure. I vote Up.
But Up gets upvoted onto the list. But it's time to go for my first nomination here. I'm going to go for something a little older. And this one is from the 70s. This franchise just beat out Spider-Man in the franchise tournament that I'm talking about. But for whatever reason, the first Godfather movie was not eligible or took it out of the running.
It seemed like it was nominated, but then it was revoked.
It was like that's
what I was getting at. But yet, Godfather Part 2 was nominated and it won, rightfully so, because like if you want something an iconic score, the Godfather Part 2 is definitely one that definitely deserves to be here, because like, well, yes, the Godfather Part 2 is a lot of the same sort of motives as Part 1, but obviously we can't do Part 1 anyway. We have to Part 2 is basically the representation it's got here. But that being said, it's a great score. It's definitely one that I think deserves to be on this list. Kerry, what do you say about Godfather Part 2?
Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. I actually just watched the first Godfather for the first time very recently. I've not seen the Godfather Part 2 yet, which is insane. My father is like half my family is Italian, and they would be very ashamed of me. I do know that this is like my dad's ringtone on his phone. And I know it's so iconic. I've obviously heard the score before, but I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if I'm kind of.
I mean, for this, I would argue seeing the movie is not. You can vote.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I would say yes, because this is so iconic. I mean, I haven't even seen the movie, and I've heard the score like so many times before.
Yeah. But Chad, what do you say about Godfather Part 2?
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna watch it soon. I mean, I have seen the movie actually, heard the score. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna be a semi downer on this one, because I'm gonna say no to this one. I think the original, even though it didn't win, or I guess technically get nominated, is probably the better score. And honestly, I just didn't really listen to this one to see if it would be. I kind of skipped over this one for some reason, because there's another 70s film that I think has a much better score. But yeah, I think it's gonna make it anyways. But I mean, I'm gonna say no for now.
Stephen, what do you say about Godfather Part 2?
I will say yes. I did actually the other day re-listened to the score to to catch up. No, not catch up, but because I hadn't heard it in a while because I haven't seen the movie in a long time. But I listened to it, and yeah, it's a great score. So I'll say yes.
And with that, The Godfather Part 2 does make this list, and we go back round to Kiri.
Okay. Well, I'll bring up my fun long shot pick. That no one should feel obligated to say yes to, but it's one of my favorite movies. I listen to horror scores a lot. That's like those are mostly the scores I listen to on a daily basis. And I think one of the few horror movies that's won, for maybe the only horror movie that's won in the best score category, was The Omen. This is an incredibly creepy score. I think it's really great. And it's done by the great Jerry Goldsmith, and kind of like a departure significantly from his usual scores. So yeah, I'm gonna go with The Omen.
Chad, what do you say about The Omen?
Yeah, it's not every day that you get a horror film that's like kind of prestige, that's gonna like blow you away with its score. And they used to do that a lot, and I think it's coming back a little bit more with horror and stuff like that. But back in the day, some of these movies were just great movies that happened to be like really creepy horror films. And so yeah, I think this one is definitely great. I did listen to this one because I was very kind of surprised that The Omen won a Best Original Score, and I was like, whoa, crap, okay, Omen's more prestige than I thought it was. And then I was like, all right, let me check this out, and it was pretty great. It was very creepy, and it really served the movie very well. So I vote yes for The Omen.
Stephen, what do you say about The Omen?
Actually, just started listening to a little bit of it now. I've actually never seen the original Omen. I mean, I saw the remake with Liev Schreiber. Is it?
It is Liev Schreiber, yeah.
The original's better. Don't worry.
I haven't seen the remake actually, but
yeah, it's I only listened to it briefly, but yeah, I liked it. So I'll say yes.
Yeah, I also just listened to it briefly. I mean, it's one that I saw on the list. It's like, this probably won't come up. I won't listen to it. But yeah, but I mean, I have seen like, but both this and the remake. I actually do kind of like the remake slightly more, but but that being said, the score for The Omen is great, and I'm going to say yes. So it's going to make this list. Chad, we go back to you.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with the other great horror score that is like pretty iconic, and yeah, it's a great John Williams score. I'm gonna go with Jaws. I mean, come on now, you can't really like think about that movie without thinking of the score. Just the and getting really fast just makes you think something's coming to get you, and it probably is because it's Jaws. Yeah, I mean, it's iconic, it's creepy as hell, but there's also more than just that moment. It's a full, well-rounded score, just like that movie is. It's just a great film that happens to be a pretty great horror film, one of the best, and one of the best scores. So yeah, Jaws.
Also, how the hell did The Exorcist not get nominated at the Oscars?
I would say Nightmare on Elm Street should have as well.
Stephen, what do you say about Jaws?
Yeah, this list could be in danger of becoming kind of like John Williams, because he's actually won several times, and all of his wins are worthy. But yeah, I mean, there's at least a few of his that, if it comes out, there's no way I'm saying no to, and Jaws is certainly one of them. And not just the the da-da, but just in general, just the movie as a whole just has. Although I will admit that I sometimes might get some of the sequels mixed with the original as far as their score as well.
But actually, fun fact: all of John Williams' wins fit on the thumbnail. He's only won 5. It's been 20 years since he's won his an Oscar, which is crazy when you think about that. But no, he was nominated. He didn't win for Lincoln. Schindler's List was his last win. But anyway, we're not talking about that one yet. Anyway, but when it comes to Jaws, I like John Williams' scores. Out of the ones was nominated for, out of the ones he won for, rather, in this one, this is the one I'm actually going to say no to. I knew that this is a case of John Williams and a few other composers actually, because I think Hans Zimmer's won a few as well, that can pop up on this list a few times. But I knew I was going to be picky when it comes to those composers that won multiple times, and unfortunately, I think other John Williams scores is better than what he did in Jaws. Like Jaws would probably be my number 13, and that just outside. But yeah, Kerry, what do you say about Jaws?
I say yes to this one. This is another just iconic one, and I know it could be like the rest of this list is John Williams. It's a total possibility. I don't know. I think this is one of my 2 favorite scores of his. So I think this deserves a spot on the list.
Stephen, what is your next score?
All right, I'll go for an obvious one that I'm actually kind of surprised hasn't come up yet. That's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Great Howard Shore score. I chose that one over Return of the King because I think The Fellowship came first, and even though I think Return of the King is the better movie, I think Fellowship probably has a slightly better score.
Well, yeah, this is one that I was going to say yes to whichever one came up because, well, I wasn't going to let Lord of the Rings not have a spot on this list. I mean, although I would disagree with you, because I think Return of the King is slightly better score-wise as well. But regardless, a lot of the scores and stuff throughout the whole trilogy is all the same kind of stuff anyway. Like, they do repeat the scores a lot in all these movies. So, and I don't think there's any sort of unique score that only appears in the Two Towers and all that. So, but that being said, Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring is worthy, so it's a yes. Kerry, what do you say about Lord of the Rings Return of the King?
Yeah. Oh, wait, Fellowship.
Yeah.
It's Lord of the Rings regardless.
Malcolm, nice.
Either one. I mean, I don't think we could have this list. It would be such a shame if we didn't have Lord of the Rings on this list. This is one of the best scores of all time, for sure.
Chad, what do you say about Fellowship of the Ring?
I'm gonna say no because Harry Potter should have won. No, I'm just kidding. I absolutely do love that Harry Potter score, and it sucks. I wish Fellowship would have came out like a year later, maybe when Chamber was coming out. But no. Yeah, I listened to this one, and I listened to some of Return of the King because I knew that was going to be like a heavy distinction, like which is the better one. And I don't know. I think I actually like Fellowship the movie more, and I definitely think Fellowship the score is the better one. However, these are all great, and everybody has their own favorites. But yeah, Fellowship I think is just super iconic, just beautiful. It's all hell, fun. It's just like got everything pretty much. You could just listen to that score, get it on vinyl, have a blast listening to it, outside of the film and or inside of the film. And yeah, so definitely Fellowship.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring does make this list. And on the note of Harry Potter, I'm surprised that it wasn't nominated more times. I mean, it's not the fact I'm not too worried it's kind of lost out to Lord of the Rings, because I do think Lord of the Rings, because Prince of Azkaban was the other one that got nominated, and that also lost to Lord of the Rings. I believe. Oh no, Prince of Azkaban was the year after. Anyway.
Yeah, it probably lost. I'm pretty sure Prisoner of Azkaban came out in 2004, which would mean that it lost to Finding Neverland.
What?
I was just, yeah, but honestly, I think that the score for like Deathly Hallows and that were a lot. I mean, no shade to John Williams. I prefer the scores for the later movies that was done by like Desplat and all that, and I think they should have been nominated as well, but none of them were. But anyway, I'm going to throw out I'm going to go completely off book here. I'm going to I'm going to bring up the musical that I think the score actually works in with the actual music as well, because it was the same guy that did everything. I'm going for La La Land. I do think the score for La La Land is really good. Like Justin Hurwitz, like does a really good job of kind of doing a score that makes you feel like you're in a classic Hollywood style musical, and I think the score, even when you talk about the songs and all that, I think even the scores kind of have that undertone of the songs throughout. I think it works for this movie. But Kerry, what do you say about La La Land?
I do think this is a good score, and I do like, you do have a good point, Malcolm, how it fits in with the the musical parts of the movie. But I think this is one I'm going to have to say no to, just for a top 12 list of all of the scores that have won. Just because it's just not one that I've gone back to ever. It's one that I enjoy when I'm watching the movie, but it's not one that I, think about really apart from the movie itself.
Chad, what do you say about La La Land?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll keep this one a little bit short. I think the music in that is definitely great. It's a great movie, but yeah, since we're kind of coming close to like the end of the list already, I don't think it's top tier score for me. So I'm gonna say no, unfortunately.
And Stephen, what do you say about La La Land?
I actually would have said yes, because especially the last 5 minutes is probably one of the best scenes of one of the best last 5 minutes of any movie, and the music is definitely a huge part of that. But I mean, the music throughout the movie is great, but especially that ending.
But Kerry, what do you say? What is your unique score?
So I'm going to throw out one of the more obvious ones, but just to make sure we get it on the list, I think we'll be, eaten alive if we don't. And that is,
who cares?
That's true. Who cares? We shouldn't care about that. But I do actually want it on the list, and that's Star Wars, another John Williams score.
Never heard of it.
Despite what Chad says, this is, I think, so ingrained in just society and culture. I mean, everyone, I don't know who does it. I mean, maybe I'm sure there's someone out there who doesn't know the score, but if you enjoy movies at all, you know this score. Even if you don't enjoy movies, you probably know this score. And it's just so iconic. And I think it's one of the big things that makes this movie so fantastic.
Chad,
what do you say about Star Wars? Have you heard of it?
Oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, shoot. Actually, I think that's that one thing. Yeah. So, if we can't get Harry Potter on the list and we can't get Jaws on the list, honestly, I think
we do have Jaws on the list.
Oh, we did get Jaws on the list. I thought somehow we didn't get it on the list. Anyways, all right. Well, let's go with another one instead. I'm gonna say yes to Star Wars, of course, because the music is one of the best parts of the movie. It elevates the movie. If you watch this movie without the score, you just see Luke staring up at a sun. There's no emotion there, or suns. There's no emotion there at all without the score. The score is pretty much everything with this movie. It elevates it so much, and it's pretty much the most iconic score you can probably ever listen to. And Star Wars for sure, absolutely.
Stephen, what do you say about Star Wars?
It's unfortunate that my favorite John Williams score, while it was nominated, didn't win. But for Star Wars, I'm not as big on the Star Wars score as most people are. I think it's great, but it's not it's not one of my favorites from John Williams. But it's great, still great enough that I'll still say yes. Truth be told, my favorite Star Wars music actually comes from Phantom Menace. That's the Duel of the Fates, I think, is probably my favorite bit of music.
It's all pretty great, yeah.
I don't know if Phantom Menace was actually nominated for score tip, which is weird. But that being, Phantom Menace was not nominated for best score at all. The next Star Wars movie that was nominated was Force Awakens. But that being said, I do like Star Wars. I do think it's good. And this is probably one of the more obvious ones that people would be like, yeah, of course it's going to be on this list. And it's already made it. So I'm going to say no because why not? No, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying no. Why not? Because I think out of some of the other schools we haven't talked about, I think there's a lot of other ones that I like more than Star Wars. Because, and it's one of those ones like I was surprised that Star Wars was nominated as much as it has been. Because, like with the sequel trilogy, it's one of those ones that the scores didn't really do a lot of new stuff with the whole themes in there. It was all pretty much the same a lot with the score. So yeah, but it makes the list. Chad, we go to you.
Yeah, well, what can I say? Carrie and I are pretty basic. However, I'm gonna go with one I absolutely love in a movie I just absolutely adore, and I honestly think this score kind of actually, changed the game a little bit, kind of bringing things away from what you normally hear in scores. And I'm gonna go with the score for The Social Network. I think this movie's fantastic, and I just love what Trent and Atticus both brought to this. There's a lot of times when you're listening to this where it either sounds like a video game or it sounds like a Nine Inch Nails song, and I think that's amazing for the movie. It really sets the tone for it. It's kind of crazy if you're just listening to it. I was playing it and I was trying to get Carrie to guess what it was, and she was like, "Is this a video game movie?" I was like, "No, it's not a geek movie at all." Well, I guess it kind of is. Facebook, but yeah, I think this movie and the score is fantastic, and I love listening to it because it's so out of the box, so crazy, but they've kind of changed the game, in my opinion, just doing a lot of different stuff with scores and pushing the envelope. So I think this one's fantastic.
Stephen, what do you say about The Social Network?
That's another one I had to just re-listen to for a little bit because I haven't seen the movie in a long time and didn't remember the score at all. But yeah, I like it. It's cool. It's
conventional.
Well, maybe some of it, but not. I mean, the part that I just listened to didn't really sound that out there or anything. But I still love the way it sounded. So yeah, I'll say yes to The Social Network.
Yeah, I mean, I do like The Social Network score, and I do think like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have done really great stuff. in such short time. When they started doing scores, but it's one of those ones that once again, I've got a lot of scores that I like more than this. I'm gonna say no. So it's all on Kerry. What do you say about The Social Network?
I've been thinking about this because I do think it is a really great score, but I don't think it's actually my favorite score that's won from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I think Soul is actually like
Spoiler alert, fam.
so far. Well, if I were to choose one of their scores to be on this list, though, it would be Soul rather than The Social Network. But I do think it's a really great score.
So if The Social Network does not make this list,
I'm gonna cry.
Stephen, we go to you for your next nomination.
All right. There's one that I'm looking at my list that I realized no one's brought up yet. That's I would think would be an obvious one, and that's James Horner's score for Titanic. Yeah, it's great, recognizable, iconic score from that movie, and definitely. I mean, that movie was just such a technical triumph, anyways. But the score still is it's still a big part of why that movie works as well as it does as well. So yeah, the Titanic is my next nomination.
But yeah, I was eventually going to get to Titanic. That was actually going to be my next nomination, actually, because I love Titanic. Titanic is a great movie. Some people who may be named Jordan may not like this movie, but I'm not calling anyone out and said no names. But it's a great movie. The score is fantastic, and I don't think I actually mentioned it at the start, but because there is some years in which there was for some reason they split these score categories. It was like in the 90s they were doing score for comedy, musical, and drama, and there was two different awards back then. I think they did it because Disney had a good run where they were just winning. So I was like, how are we going to get other scores to win? Oh, we'll do this. But anyway, I'm saying it's the Titanic. Kerry, what do you say about the Titanic score?
This was also probably going to be the next one I brought up. This is such an amazing score. Chad played it earlier and just started crying because it reminds you of the movie so much, and the music itself I think even you did. I
don't remember that.
I think even absent the movie, the score itself is just so emotional, and it's okay. All right, I'm done. You go.
I was just thinking about the score.
No, I'm done.
But if that Titanic has made the list, Chad, what would you have said about Titanic?
No, I definitely would have said yes. Yeah, exactly. When I really didn't cry, but I wanted to. That that.
No, I meant I started crying.
Oh, I gotta. Okay. Not me. I'm a man. It's like but no, but no. Yeah. So this one, when that flute hits, it really just hits you in the soul. Reminds you of the movie. I also think it's a great movie. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but the score is just so instantly recognizable. That freaking flute, man. I love it to death. I love that song that got overplayed so much, even though that's not a part of the score. It's very similar to the score. Yeah, it just really puts you in the mood to rewatch that movie, and it's definitely a great epic film, great epic score. Love it. I would have said yes.
That song is great. There was a reason it's overplayed.
Yeah.
It's a great but anyway, it's on me. I probably should have brought this one up earlier, see how it goes, but never mind. I'm bringing it up now. This made our top 12 scores of the 2000s. But this is one of those ones where there's not a lot of foreign movies that have won, that have been nominated, let alone win original score. And I'm going for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The score for this is fantastic. The way they kind of get their motifs and stuff, like get that Asian kind of motif into the score is just great, and just and it really helps with the fight scene and that, especially a lot of it where there really is not a lot of. I mean, there is dialogue in this movie, but just not a lot. It's just a lot of that score for the fight scenes and all that. So I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is fantastic. Kiri, what do you say about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
I am gonna say yes to this one. I really love this score. I don't know, this movie and the score combined, I think, are so beautiful. I think this score has like great moments of just like peacefulness, but then also just the more action parts, it gets just more intense. And I don't know, I actually really do love this one and think it deserves a spot on this list.
Chad, what do you say about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Yeah, I mean, I'm semi on the fence. I was semi on the fence with it because I haven't seen the movie in a long time. I remember it being such a beautiful movie, like, with like how it looks and just how it is, and stuff like that. It's a really great, like, kind of foreign movie to add on the list. And Tan Dunn, I want to shout out his name that did the score. And I was trying to remember, because I was listening to this. I was trying to remember if I remembered it enough to really be able to think if it's one of the best. But I mean, you guys pretty much sold me on it. I think the score complements the movie so well. It's really like big. I think a lot of the times it was bigger than I expected, because I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of like a fighting movie and stuff like that. So and I also love to get some kind of like cultural representation on the list. So yeah, I would say yes to it.
Crouching Tiger does make this list. Stephen, what would you have said?
I think it's a good score, but I probably would have said no, just because there was only 3 spots left. Now I guess there's only 2 spots left. And there's some great ones that haven't been mentioned yet. So that's what I would have said.
But with that, Kiri, we go back to you. What is your next nomination?
Okay. I guess since I said I would rather see this on the list than The Social Network, I'll bring it up. And that is Soul. I think the score is fantastic, and it's so ingrained in the movie. It like actually serves such a big function in the movie. It's not, the movie's not a musical, but music is such a ginormous part of this movie. And the music was done, I don't know, I think the blend between like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's style and John Baptista's style, it just created something absolutely amazing.
Chad, what do you say about Soul?
Yeah, I mean, I've already basically said that I love anything pretty much Trent and Atticus do. And I agree with Carrie, if I don't actually know which one I actually like more. I think these are both very up there with The Social Network and Soul, but I was probably going to nominate that one next if The Social Network didn't make it on. So I'm glad Carrie brought it up. And so I'm definitely going to say yes to this one. She's exactly right. There were 3 people that did this one, the team of Trent and Atticus, and they did all of the like really cool, like ethereal, kind of subtle music that you get, like, when all the afterlife stuff is happening, but then all the fun, jazzy stuff is John Batiste. And I think it's all just works so well together. It's so fantastic. And yeah, the music is one of the best and biggest things about this movie, and just listening to the music just made me really want to watch the movie again. So yeah, Soul is amazing for sure.
Stephen, what do you say about Soul?
Once again, I just listened to some of it because yeah, it's been like a good year or so since I've seen the movie. Actually, that came out in 2020, so actually it's been like, well, I mean, it came out in late 2020, so it's been a little over a year. It is a really good score. But I, much like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I would probably have to say no, because there's only 2 spots left.
Fair.
Totally fair, yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's going to make the list because, yeah, I do like this one a lot more than the Social Network, and if we couldn't get the other jazz-inspired score of La La Land on here, I'm glad Soul can fit in that jazz hole on this list. So yeah, got one spot left, and it is on Chad, but he walked away.
He wants to go get our whiteboards. He's like, it's about to wrap. Well, eventually.
I forgot that I was next. I apologize. This is so tough. Stephen was right. He was anticipating this, the last spot, and everyone's going to be fighting to try to get their own on there. So I don't know if it really matters what I nominate, but crap, dude. I'm going to go with one that I don't think will make it, but I think deserves to be shouted out because I think it's incredible. I think this was an incredible film. I think that it had an incredible soundtrack and an incredible score. This movie, I think, deserves all of the nominations and wins that it got. I'm going to go with the Black Panther score. Just because, Ludwig, Kendrick, everybody on this were firing on all cylinders, I think, except for maybe the third act can be like the biggest qualm for this movie, I think. But otherwise, I think it's a beautiful film and the score serves it. Just like all that, the drumming and, all the stuff in Wakanda, during the fight sequences and just, all the, cool superhero stuff and just like, I don't know, everything with that score, I think is just fantastic. So yeah, I'm gonna see if Black Panther has some steam. Let's see.
Steven, what do you say about Black Panther?
Okay, I didn't need to check it out just now because I did briefly before we went on. This is one of the ones I tried to listen to before we went on. This was one that I was like, juggling between a few movies, what to bring up next if it ever made it to me again. But hopefully it won't make it to me because this is, like I said, this is one that I was thinking about bringing up. I think it's a great score, one of the better superhero scores. My favorite superhero score is a John Williams movie, but unfortunately, while it was nominated, it did not win.
I agree.
That's my favorite John Williams score.
Superman, I think. Superman?
Yep. But Black Panther is a great score, and it's definitely a yes for me. You're muted. You're pulling a me.
But anyway, when it comes to Black Panther, maybe the only MCU offering here, but I would argue that like other MCU movies should have been nominated and potentially won before this or even after this, really. But sadly, this is one I am going to have to say no to because as much as I do like Black Panther as a movie, I remember the actual soundtrack stuff that Kendrick Lamar and all that provided. More, I don't remember the score at all. So I remember when this was nominated, I was like, really? I don't really remember the score for this. And this was really like I was covering the Oscars. It was about the first year we really started doing Gone with the Wind on Take 3. But yeah, Kerry, what do you say about Black Panther?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say no to this one as well. I agree with Malcolm.
Divorce. Psych.
I think this is one where the soundtrack kind of outshines the score. And like Malcolm said, if I'm thinking of this movie and I'm thinking of the music in it, I'm thinking of the soundtrack, like the actual musical artists, and not really there are some portions of the score that I think of, but it is a fantastic score. But for the last spot, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, the Wakanda theme is great.
It's amazing.
But with that, we go to Stephen. Stephen, do you have the score that close off this list?
Probably not, but I'm going to go with a movie that I have not seen, but it's an iconic score. I think it's a great score. I've heard the main. I don't know if it's the main theme of the movie or not, but it's something that I've heard millions of times, and that is the score for Chariots of Fire.
Yeah, this is tough because I do like Chariots of Fire. I do think it's a good score. But it's also one of those ones that I think is a more as the actual Chariots of Fire theme is probably that little bit more iconic than the rest of the score in general of the movie.
That's probably true for a lot of movies, actually.
I'm going to give it a slight no because I do think there's one that I think should be here that hasn't come up yet, and it's me next up. It's more strategy for me, but we'll see what happens. Kerry, what do you say about Chariots of Fire?
Okay, so I was like all prepared to be like, I haven't heard this score ever in my life, and then a little bit, and yes, of course I have heard it a lot in my life, and I didn't realize this was from Chariots of Fire, but it's so iconic. I think it's been used so many times. I would have to say yes to this one.
Oh, interesting.
Chad, what do you say about Chariots of Fire?
I mean, it's tough because, I know you guys like listened to like a little snippets of things and said yes, but like, it's really just hard because I've never seen the movie. So I don't know how well it works with the movie. I know people normally play this like, when people are like running and stuff like that and whatnot. I'm sure that's probably how they use it in the film. I need to check this one out. So I'm on the fence, but I just heard like a little snippet. I don't know if like the full movie works, other than just that one little bit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to like the beginning of it by Vangelis, who did Blade Runner. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll probably just have to go see what Malcolm has to say. I'll just say no, a slight no.
But yeah, it's on me. And I'm going to bring up a composer, which is I've threw out his name earlier because I think his Harry Potter score should have been nominated. But one thing that is a real big crime that I've noticed is that Wes Anderson has had a lot of great scores in movies. Only one of them has won, and I think this might have actually been the only one that was nominated, 2 of his movies, and that's but Grand Budapest Hotel is an incredible score. Like Alexandre Desplat, I think scores most of the Wes Anderson movies, and they're always really good. And French Dispatch should have been nominated this year, but it wasn't, so I don't know what to say. But yeah, and I think what Alexandre Desplat it just does with Wes Anderson movies, just the way that a lot of them may seem samey, but I think this is a great score. Kerry, what do you say about Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah, I agree. This is a really great score. This is one we were listening to in preparation for this. But I think for last spot, it's not quite up there for me.
Chad, what do you say about Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah, this is also very hard. I freaking love Wes Anderson. I freaking love Alexandre Desplat. But like, this is so tough because it is the last spot, and I'm like, maybe there's another like really great one that we all really love on there. I don't know. We'll have to see if that exists. Yeah, I think I'm just going to give a slight no for the same reasons Carrie said. I don't know if it's best of all time. I don't know. Yeah, I'll say no. Sorry.
And Stephen, what would you have said about Grand Budapest?
I probably would have had to abstain, even though I've seen the movie. I don't remember the score, and I'm just listened to a very, very, very brief part of it, and it's not jogging any memories.
With that, we go to Kerry. What is your next nomination?
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is so difficult.
Go with your favorite.
I don't know what my favorite is. I picked something dumb. I don't want to. I'm really torn between two. I'll go with the one that's not another John Williams score, but I wouldn't be mad if that got on the list instead. But I'm gonna go with Atonement. It's a really beautiful score. I love how it incorporates like the typewriter into the score. It's one that I think I had heard even before I watched the movie. And I absolutely just like fell in love with it, like the score alone, absent the movie. But I think it fits very well with the movie as well.
Chad, what do you say about Atonement?
Son of a bitch, she stole my line. Yeah, actually, this was on my list. It wasn't like super high on my list. But yeah, we both recently listened to this one, and I don't think it's like top tier of that year. Of the nominees, but I do think it was a really great movie that deserved to be nominated. I think the score is really well incorporated because it has some dark themes, and I think the score really highlights those dark themes and kind of makes you feel it really well. And exactly like she said, the line with about the typewriter, I think is excellent. I love when people use kind of unconventional little sounds and stuff in their scores to make it really highlight and fit the movie, because that's really what all the movie is about is, typing up the, I don't know, deceit and all this stuff. But yeah, I'll say yes to Atonement. I think it's a really great score.
Stephen, what do you say about Atonement?
I'm gonna have to say no because there's another movie that's kind of not the score necessarily, but the movie itself is in the same vein of Atonement that I like. I like the score even more. I mean, it's not bad. I like it, but I gotta say no.
Yeah, this is another one that I think also made the ranking list for when we did top 12 scores of the 2000s. If it didn't, it at least got brought up. But yeah, but this is one I definitely listened to refresh my memory of this. And yeah, this is an easy yes for me. I love the score for Atonement, and it's purely because he incorporates a typewriter in there. Like, a lot of these like. I like it. Like, it's one of those ones. Like, I'm a sucker for when composers use unconventional means to do their scores, because I know this is not TV show. Like, Lost is not a movie. But like Michael Giacchino with the score for Lost, he incorporated a lot of the wreckage of the plane that they had on set into the score. And you would not have thought that at all, but somehow worked that into the score, and it just worked for that. So, but Atonement, which is not Michael Giacchino, it's Dario Marinelli.
Right. Yeah.
It's a great score, and it's going to close out this list. But just to recap the list here, we got The Lion King, Wizard of Oz, The Godfather Part 2, The Omen, Jaws, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, Star Wars, Titanic, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Soul, and Atonement. Stephen, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, a few. I think another animated movie that I actually haven't seen, even though it's a classic, but I think it's got it's so iconic that Disney uses it for their logo, and that would be Pinocchio.
Mm-hmm.
The other John Williams, probably out of the 5 wins that John Williams done, my favorite would be E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Brokeback Mountain has a great score. And I really love also the score to another movie I haven't seen, but I like the score a lot, is The English Patient.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, I probably would have brought up Shape of Water at some stage. I do like their score for that. The Hateful Eight is a great score. Ennio Morricone's Only Win, I believe. And The Artist is another one that I watched. I didn't watch it for this. I watched it a long time ago, but it's the fact that they managed to do a score that kind of brings in that memory of the silent movie era and just makes it seem seamless is just amazing in its own. And that one would have probably been the next one I brought up actually. And I actually do like the score for Finding Neverland. I actually don't hate the fact that beat Prisoner of Azkaban. But Kerry, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I think E.T. was definitely one. I probably would have brought up a bunch of like Disney musicals, probably just because I think the score supports them so well, like Dumbo, Mary Poppins, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, all of those. Yeah.
And Chad, what honorable mentions did you have? I
Yeah,
didn't forget to mute. I was just trying to press the button on my mic.
honestly, there's so many more to bring up and nominate and have on a list. You might need to do like a redux of this one, but yeah, definitely all of the Disney animated. Especially, I thought Pocahontas was pretty actually great, even though I don't super love that movie or anything, but I think that score was actually fantastic. West Side Story I had on there. The Sting I think is actually a very underrated, great score, and it's definitely a great movie. I mean, it won like a lot of awards. E.T. For sure. I definitely say that might have been the one that came up sooner rather than later if Atonement didn't make it. Schindler's List, and yeah, I agree with everything Malcolm said about The Artist. I would have said yes to that. And then Life of Pi I think is a pretty great one as well. And then yeah, I also second Brokeback Mountain. I think was really great too. Yeah, there's so many good ones that I really loved on there. But yeah, those are honorable mentions.
But yeah, now we get onto the actual voting of this. How you vote is we're going to go around the board and we'll write down what we want at 12, 11, etc., etc. And yeah, and then if the most votes puts it in the position that we voted at. If there's a tie, we go to the chat. I believe we've got at least one person watching us. That's not someone on the panel anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna go first, just because as much as I hate doing this, but just because I remember the songs more than I remember the score of Wizard of Oz. Chad.
I went Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Kerry.
I also went Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
And Stephen.
Consulting each other.
Yeah, I went with Atonement.
But Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is going to be 12. Kerry, what do you have for 11?
I have Atonement.
Chad.
I swear we're not in cahoots. We literally did this simultaneously. Atonement.
Stephen.
Yep, I stuck with Atonement.
Wizard of Oz, but Atonement is going to be 11.
Figure out. Oh shit. Oh. Damn it. All right. We might actually differ here. I guess we don't differ. Okay.
We don't.
Chad, what do you have at 10?
The Omen.
Stephen.
I also have the Omen.
Oh, nice.
I went Wizard of Oz. Kerry.
The Omen.
And Malcolm will die on that hill. Shit. The rest are so great, to be honest.
You know, there's always a point where it just gets like
Super
impossible.
hard, yeah.
I mean, this is one that I briefly considered doing this in decades, but then it's like, well, it's basically going to be, what do you want it? 10, 9. Wouldn't it be more fun that way? But Stephen, what do you have at 9?
I went with Soul.
Wizard of Oz. Kerry.
I'm giving it to Malcolm. Wizard of Oz. Oh
Hmm.
god.
Chad.
Finally differ. I put Godfather Part 2.
The Wizard of Oz it is.
Yeah, that means you have to put a different movie now.
Oh, it's not
We'll
hard.
see what it is. Maybe another musical. I don't know why I erased. Unless I want to change it.
But I'm going first on this one, and it's the other one that I remember the songs more than I think about the score. The Lion King. Kerry.
I went with Soul.
Chad
I went Godfather Part 2 still.
and Stephen.
Sticking with Soul.
So it is.
Yeah.
But
It's the
Kerry,
one.
what do you
It's
have?
the one, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
Kerry, what do you have at 4-7?
Interesting.
Up.
Okay.
Chad,
No, the rest are better. Godfather Part 2.
Stephen,
Godfather Part 2.
See?
The Lion King.
Oh, shit.
So crazy that the number one score on this list is going to be 7. But Stephen, what do you have at 6?
Just because the most memorable part of it is the main theme, even though the whole score is great. But I went with Jaws.
Sticking with the Lion King, Kerry,
I went with Up.
I
Chad.
actually didn't write anything yet.
Just choose something.
All right, I'll go Up as well. That's fine.
Chad is like, I got the Godfather at 7. I'm done.
No, I was between 2, but
Alright, but
Right.
we're on to number 5. I've still got the Lion King. Kerry, what do you have at 5?
I'm gonna put the Lion King.
Chad,
I actually went Jaws.
Stephen.
Oh, looks like we have a tie.
We do.
Jaws.
So,
I didn't know you're going there. Interesting.
so that one person in the chat, drop in the comments, Jaws or the Lion King at 5. But if no one sort of says anything in the chat, I'm going to get it up on the reel prepared. And there is some comments in the chat. And Jacob Barber is going to be the one that's breaking this tie, and he went Jaws.
Of course he did. He loves
And
that.
but I always go for the first one that comes in, because if I took both of them, it would have still been a tie. But,
Okay.
although I think according to the times on the thing, they came at the same time anyway. But whether or not that's how it came up, but that's how it sort of fell. But Kerry, what do you have for 4?
Staying with the Lion King.
Chad,
I'm good with this one at 4. Lion King.
Stephen,
Lion King.
Unanimous.
Lion King.
Okay. shield this from you to see where we fall.
I'm so confused.
We have Titanic, we have Fellowship, and Star Wars.
Sure. Oh, we just did 4.
Yes.
That's why I'm confused.
Stephen, what do you have for 3?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Ooh.
Kiri.
Oh, I have Titanic.
Chad.
Bro, we did not plan this. Titanic.
So we go to the chat again. Star Wars or Titanic at 3?
Well, you never know. Agree.
And once again, first comment I see pop up will be the one that this is the decider. I will be getting a wheel up just in case, because I don't really want to have be sitting here looking at the screen while we wait on. And we don't have to wait. But and both Leo and Jacob are unanimous here. Titanic is going to be at number 3.
Now we rate number 1.
Oh, all right.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes, considering I think we know what number 1 will be for. Well, anyway, who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Anyway,
You do?
I mean, unless you really agree with me with that.
well, what I was meaning is we both had 2 different ones for 2, but no one has seen one of them at all yet. So it's that's kind of where I was going with here. Kerry, what do you have for number 1?
I have The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Chad,
Bruh. Fellowship.
Oh.
Stephen,
Yes. Look, Fellowship of the Ring.
Nice.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Oh, sorry, Fellowship.
Nice try.
But I'm just going to finish off these banners. One thing I learned when looking through this though is this original score section does the fandom movies really good. At the odds, there's other ones we didn't mention, like Joker's been nominated for score, even though I don't know if it should have been nominated or even win. But
Yeah, Booker won.
yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, it's one that's like, I like the score, but I don't think it should have won over the other ones it was nominated. But
I don't remember what the others were.
I don't actually remember. I'm just agreeing.
no, I've got it up anyway. Joker, the other movies nominated when Joker won was Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Rise of Skywalker.
I mean,
but that being said,
Joker is probably the most deserving out of those 5. Although I'm sure Rise of Skywalker was a great score.
Oh, it was. I mean, I personally would have given it to Little Women, but anyway, none of those won and none of those made this list. Our top 12 Oscar-winning scores is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is at 12, Atonement is at 11, The Omen is at 10, Wizard of Oz is at 9, Soul is at 8, Godfather Part 2 is 7, Up is 6, Jaws is 5, Lion King is 4, Titanic is 3, Star Wars is 2, and Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring is 1. And I know I kind of put an extra S at the end of the subtitle, but never mind. I'm Peter Jackson. I can do what I want. But anyway, the poll is up for next week's topic. If you want to see the topic on any one of those 5 options, just go there and vote. Kerry, where can people find you online?
So Chad and I host a horror show, horror like news, and we like generally pick a topic to discuss in the horror world. I think this week we are ranking A24 films, but it's not always ranking. Sometimes it's, we'll do a spoiler movie review or we'll talk about cursed films, really anything relating to horror. And that's called Welcome to Primetime.
But Chad, where can people find you online?
Yep, I do basically trivia everywhere, TMG, any other leagues that exist. I'm probably in it. In fact, I'm playing Henry Confidential there challenged me to some sort of exhibition because he saw me play and he was like, I want to play you now. So I guess that's happening tonight right after this. And that's going to be probably over on his channel. I also I love doing movie battlegrounds. I love debating. That's really fun. I also did it on Henry's channel, which is pretty great. Check all that out. I do a show, Oscar show on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. Great channel. Like and subscribe to that. But my show is called Picture This. Every month we do a year of the Oscars. This month we're doing 2021 films, obviously because of the Oscars. We're very excited about it. I actually really love a lot of these movies this year. So we talk about the nominees, the actors, the actresses, the ceremony itself, the year itself, and then we talk about the movies and rank them. And if you watching this, you probably love ranking, so check that out. And then on my channel, I kind of do some ranking stuff myself. We did like Christmas films, Harry Potter films. I need to drop that episode soon, probably next month for the next movie, and then Edgar Wright, stuff like that. So that's about it. Thank you, Malcolm. Thanks everybody. This was fun.
Stephen, where can people find you online?
Oh, the social media stuff and Letterboxd at sshepard82. And on Monday, I'll be on Jordan Anderson's Movie Hero Network where tournament fights, where we'll be doing One Crazy Days / Nights Part 2. That's it.
You can find me on Tape View Productions hosting hosting Rankum every Saturday. You can also find me on Sunday night over on Northern Entertainment Network, where I'll be doing. Actually, no, it's not. It's over on Ben Rayner's new channel. Anyway, you can find me somewhere doing what they call Sunday Unwind. We talk about movie news and a lot of stuff, all play games and all that. You can find me on Jordan Anderson's channel, Movie Hero Network, this week on Tuesday doing rom-coms on tournament fights. I'm hosting 2 trivia matches this week. I'm going to be over on Henry's channel directly after this. I'm doing trivia. I've got a busy week this week. But that being said, I'll have the poll with what made the list up tomorrow at some stage. I'm still doing the poll for the movie franchises tournament. It's definitely heating up, and the comments are getting heated up too. But that being said, until next time, have fun and keep listing shit.